Hey guys, Dawn from Livewell Health Centre here. Today I'm going to run you through a gait analysis we performed with Shane here. So pretty much I'm going to break down the process of how we complete a gait analysis, things we look for throughout it, and then ways in which we can go about changing anything we might find. To give you a bit of background, Shane was coming in complaining of hip pain and tightness, primarily in his left leg. Over the last couple of months, he'd been increasing his kilometres. However, in the last sort of 3 to 4 weeks, he's had to back that off because of the pain. So we discussed various factors that might be contributing to that, and one of them being his gait. So we'll start with the side view here. So if we play the footage, we'll have a look at his foot strike to begin with. As we can see, he's landing that mid-foot position, especially considering the speed he was running at here. That's exactly where you want to be. So if we come through here and pause the footage, there we go, as I said. So landing that mid-foot position, he's got a slight bend in his knee. His foot's also landing underneath his hip, so he's not overstriding. Something to look out here for would be a heel strike. So that's where a runner will contact the ground with their heel first, followed by their mid and then forefoot. What that does is produce a braking force that can increase stress placed through joints and associated structures, as well as cause a bit of a straighter sort of knee angle. And again, that goes hand in hand with that increased stress placed through joints. In this case, Shane's not doing that. He's got that slight bend in the knee. He's in that midfoot position, so nothing really to be too concerned about there. If we play the footage through now and get to his toe off, there we go. If I was to draw a line now down through the middle of the screen, there you go. We're going to call that the neutral line. As you can see, Shane is breaking neutral with his hip extension, so he's getting past that line and extending through. However, he was noting that he was getting a little bit of pain and tightness, sort of especially in that left side, and that goes hand in hand with his presenting complaint. So something to keep in mind with regards to having someone on the treadmill is that the treadmill is going to pull them back a little bit further than what would happen over sort of normal ground. So if he's sort of getting that tightness and a little bit of pain on the treadmill, chances are that's going to be even more pronounced when he's running on normal ground. So we discussed various ways in which we could sort of improve that, whether it be eccentric exercises targeting the quads and hip flexors, or just general mobility of those areas. All right, cool. So that's looking pretty good other than that. If we play the footage again, come through, let's have a look at his torso position now. So he's got a little bit of a forward lean, just a slight forward lean, which is fine. You are moving that forward direction, so you're never going to be completely, sort of straight up and down. However, he's not rounding through his back, he's not hunching forward, and he's not breaking at the hip. So he's in a nice, good position. Everything's looking pretty good. So nothing to be too concerned about other than maybe that little bit of hip extension. But yeah, pretty good. So if we now jump around to the back, let's have a look at his foot strike again. So as we can see, a little bit of supination, foot rolls into a bit of pronation. If that's not causing any pain or change in his knee or hip mechanics, then nothing to be too concerned about there. Have a look at his knees now, making sure that they're not completely caving in or deviating immediately when he's making contact with the ground. I don't think so here. That's sort of just following that natural sort of pronation of his foot as he's running through. If we have a look at his hip height now, this is something that we noted with Shane. So if I pause the footage here, if I draw a line now from his right hip to his left hip, you can see that that's pretty straight. That tells us that his right glute, it's strong, it's switched on, and it's doing what it's meant to be doing, supporting his body well every time he makes contact with the ground with that right foot. If we play the footage now through to the left foot, and pause it here. Now if I draw a line from left to right, you can see that there's a slight decline. It's a little bit more pronounced on this side. That might suggest that the left glute is not as switched on, or it's not as strong as the right glute, and it's not supporting his body as well. So if Shane was overstriding, we could try and get him to shorten up his stride length a little bit to try and improve that and maybe level it out a little bit. In this case, he's not overstriding. So other ways in which Shane could improve this, and we discussed this during the consult, would be, sort of exercise selection during his strength sessions. So whether that be, glute activation exercises, or even adding extra stimulus to certain exercises such as squats by placing a band around his knees, ensuring that he's pushing his knees out throughout, switching his glutes on, strengthening them up, and then transferring that back to his running. So we play the footage again and have a look at his arm swing now. So he is quite wide through the lats, a little bit of muscle bulk through there. So that's what that's doing, is sort of pushing his upper arms out. It's causing that 45-degree angle. And what that does is, as you can see, his hands are sort of going across his body as he swings them through, and that's causing a little bit of lateral rotation through his midsection. Now, if you think of running, we want to run from point A to point B, often in a straight line, as quickly and efficiently as we possibly can. Now, for instance, with Shane, he wants to run a marathon. So when we're getting to the end of those 42 kilometers, anything we can do to try and improve that straight line efficiency and ensure that he's running as best as he possibly can, we're going to do that. So if we jump to the next shot now and have a look, this is the new form we worked on. So as you can see, we worked on sort of getting those elbows just a little bit more tucked through, and then bringing those hands down to his hip and then up to his chin. All right. So as you can see, nowhere near as much lateral rotation. He's moving better in that straight line direction and definitely going to create a little bit of improved efficiency. If we jump to the next shot now, we're going to compare the old with the new. So the old on the top, new on the bottom. As you can see, arms on the bottom are a lot more tucked, and he's not twisting through his torso as much as they are in the top one. And then something else that we did note, even though it's not massive, but you might be able to see it, is that when he brings his legs through now, his knees sort of don't swing out as wide. As I said, it's not massive, but again, it's improving that straight line efficiency. So we're getting in from point A to point B a little bit quicker and a little bit more efficient. So yeah, there you go, guys. There's a quick breakdown of how to perform a gait analysis, things we look for, and then ways in which we can go about changing anything that we might find. If you do have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email at dylan@livewellhealthcentre.com.au. Otherwise, if you want to book yourself in for a gait analysis, feel free to call the clinic on 9363 2961. Otherwise, jump online and make an online booking today. Cheers. Thanks, guys.